They don't fear taking calculated risks. Don't be too timid and squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Dale had worked as a high school shop teacher for almost 30 years, and although he liked his job, he just wasn't all that passionate about it anymore. He dreamed about the flexibility, freedom, and money he could gain from opening his own furniture store. But when he'd shared that idea with his wife, she'd rolled her eyes and referred to him as a dreamer. The more Dale thought about it, the more he believed his wife was probably right. But he didn't want to keep teaching shop class. Partially because he was bored with teaching and partially because he knew he was burned out. He felt like he wasn't as effective at teaching as he used to be. He didn't think it was fair to his students for him to keep teaching indefinitely. The dream of opening his own business certainly wasn't the first big idea Dale had ever had. He'd once dreamed of living on a sailboat. During another phase of his life, he'd wanted to open a bed and breakfast in Hawaii. He'd never attempted to follow through with any of his ideas because he always felt like he should focus on providing for his family. Although his children were now grown and he and his wife were doing okay financially, he figured he should just keep working at his teaching job until he reached retirement age. As Dale trudged on as a shop teacher, he struggled with his mood. He felt defeated and became depressed, something that he hadn't experienced before. He sought counseling because he felt like there must be something wrong since for the first time in his career, he really wasn't enjoying his job. Although Dale told me he agreed with his wife that he shouldn't venture into becoming an entrepreneur, it was clear that deep down he was still excited by the prospect. At the mere mention of opening his own furniture business, his face lit up, his body language changed, and his entire mood shifted. We discussed his past experiences with taking risks. He said that years ago, he had invested in real estate and lost a lot of money. Ever since then, he was scared to take any type of financial risk. After a few therapy sessions, Dale confessed that he'd still love to start a business, but he was terrified at the thought of giving up a stable job. He was confident in his woodworking skills but lacked business knowledge. We began discussing steps he could take to educate himself about the business world. Dale said he'd welcome the opportunity to take business classes at the local community college. He also said he'd be happy to join a local business networking group, and would even look for a mentor to help him get started. With a few ideas in mind about how he still may be able to keep his dream alive, Dale continued weighing the pros and cons of opening his own business. Within a few weeks, Dale made a decision: he would open his business on a part-time basis. He planned to start making furniture on nights and weekends in his garage. He already had much of what he would need to get the business started, but he would need to invest a little money for new materials. Overall, he felt confident he could start the business with relatively little investment cost. Initially, he wouldn't have a storefront, he'd sell his furniture online and through the newspaper. If there was a lot of interest in his furniture, he'd consider opening a storefront at a later date, and perhaps he'd even be able to quit his job as a teacher altogether. Dale's mood showed marked improvement as soon as he began thinking about turning his dream into a reality. After a few more therapy sessions, Dale appeared to continue doing better as he worked toward his goals. We scheduled one further appointment a month down the road just to make sure his mood remained stable. When he returned, he told me something quite interesting. Not only had he started to make furniture for his business, but he was actually enjoying teaching shop class more than he ever had before. He said that the prospect of opening his own business seemed to spark his passion for teaching shop again. He planned to continue building furniture part-time but was no longer convinced he wanted to quit teaching. Instead, he was excited to teach his students the new things he was learning from his furniture business.